I'm Kathleen Ossip, and I'm going to read from my book, The Do-Over. The Do-Over is a book that's all about the grand poetic theme of death. There are a few narratives that run through the book, the first of which is a narrative about the death of someone I loved, who was my stepmother-in-law. She's referred to as A in the book. And there are also various threads that kind of take a look at death in our very death-drenched culture. So the first poem I'm going to read is the first poem in the book, and it is about A. It's, in the narrative, it's before she dies, when she was sick, and it's called A in May. Al fresco on a chair bed, the woman confirms the natural. Natural it is to be disgusted and hopeless. Disgusted and hopeless at being related to her. Relating to her is what keeps me alive. Even the unfair trees and the lawn are alive. Alive with beating life, she flies in the face of 5 W's. What, when, where, why. On the chairbed, she is breaking out of the sun and the lawn. Really out of the sun and the lawn and the trees and me. I am still studying, aren't you? Whether we accept these processes or are repulsed by them, we are still studying. Each of us one cell in a universe of process. Realm of the universe hers, and realm of the bourgeois da. On the chairbed, in the sun, she's turning yellow. She's part of the carbon cycle. I tow several pits on the lawn. She's been eating cherries and has dropped pits on the lawn. It's natural to have lost my breath and found several pits on the lawn. The next few poems are a series of elegies for famous people who died while I was writing the book. And the first of those is for Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse. All song is formal, and you maybe felt this and decided you'd be formal too. The eyeliner, the beehive, formal. When a desire to escape becomes formal, it's dangerous. Then escape requires nullity rather than a walk in the park or a movie. Eventually, nullity gets harder and harder to achieve. After surgery, I had opiates. I pushed the button as often as I could. Understood by music was how I felt. An escape so complete it became a song. After that, elegy's the only necessary form. The next one's for Steve Jobs, and it quotes from a poem by Sylvia Plath called Mirror, which begins, I am silver and exact, I have no preconceptions. That's the mirror talking. And so that line is quoted in this poem for Steve Jobs. Say you lost all your money or turned against your ambition. Then you would be at peace, or else why does the mind punish the body? Vengeance is mind, says the body. Ever after, you're a mirror, silver and exact. Just like the bug in a string of code, the body defies the mind, or looks in the mirror of the mind and shudders. Better instruments are better because they're silverish but intact. The next one's for Troy Davis, who was a young man who was executed by the state of Georgia. Troy Davis. The clock is obdurate, random, and definite. Obdurate the calendar. You thump on the cot, another signature. Did it, didn't do it, would do it again. And if a deferred dream dies, please sign the petition. Very good. Let's hunt for a pen. If you thump, there's another signature, and signatures are given freely by the signer's hand. The next one's for Lucian Freud, the British painter. Lucian Freud, lingering over unlovely bodies, couldn't help intuitively rendering a whole nother angel. Facts are relics, an effect worth undertaking, yes, dear daylight? And the last of the poems in this series is for Donna Summer. Discourse that night concerned the warm-blooded love we felt. On the divan and in the ballroom and on the terrace we felt it. Now virtue meant liking the look of the face we lay next to. Never mind the sting of the winter solstice. All discourse that night concerned the warm-blooded love we felt. Something lifted us higher. Her little finger told her so, untangling with careless skill the flora of the sexual grove. Master physician with a masterly joy in wrapping up mud-spattered, coke-dusted wounds at midnight, when it's too early to stop dancing and go home. Our lily minds, soothed by her royalty, concealed in the synthesizers, in the flora of the sexual grove. Next I'm going to read the title poem, The Do-Over, which in terms of the narrative of the book takes place after A has died, and it's a poem of mourning and trying to sort of reconfigure your life after a great loss. The Do-Over. I will not take my authority to feed my lucky hungers, nor dub thee full of mourning while the sun is loving me. No aspect of life is to be despised, though we're still sitting cranky in the meadow, sick, singed, loud, and daring. I see the forest, I see the trees. What I can't see is the dappled clearing I'm standing on, though I know it's deserving of the pinkest halos. To be left with you, big sky god, to be a dreamer overly. Have I traversed the wood only to go to? No. My hand is Wyoming discovered. It turns the pages of the recent self-help literature, and wherever I look there are faces like sunbeams. So kiss the mainstream culture, let it go. Let go of that beautiful despair. The shackles of the lyric, let them go. In the clearing, the now is falling. We clean ourselves, preserve our sanity by playing, work quickly with fine impulses. The color of what we choose turns into a remedy, an important minor sacrament. There is something modern within us, grieving in middle age, and its intensity stands between us and death, in the school, the dappled school of patience. And I'm going to end with the very last poem from the book. This poem takes its title from something I heard someone say in kind of funny circumstances. I was in a car full of poets. We were driving from Brooklyn back to Manhattan after an event. And being a car full of poets, of course, we got lost. And we ended up driving all over Brooklyn and drove past one of the beautiful, massive old cemeteries that Brooklyn seems full of. And one of the poets who was in the car said, "Oh, wow, mausoleums," which struck me as a funny thing to say, and a sort of tangy bit of language. So I filed it away, and although this poem doesn't tell the story of that event, it does take its title from that phrase. It's called "Oh Wow, Mausoleums." "Oh wow, mausoleums," says the man who doesn't remind me of you, except that everything reminds me of you except mausoleums. In the important world, my imagination, I am watching you simply without hope or dream. In the unimportant world, this man and I are driving past the cemetery. The mausoleums are impressive, ornate. They seem meant to crumble suddenly and violently, like the class system. But they have not, and it has not. The angels that guard them are elegant, Edwardian, hard, cold, and unemotional. Their expressions won't change, except to be wiped away very gently by time. They are what I now want to be. They never utter the sentence I utter most frequently. I do, but I don't. There's nothing good about ill-timed death, nor about the death of love. That poetry glamorizes them disturbs me. I don't want to be lying in that cemetery. I don't want to be sitting in the cemetery on a stone bench thinking about others. I don't want to be sitting in this car on a bucket seat of hot plush with the man who gets excited by mausoleums. There's no fooling the sweet, dumb pulse. Your heart chalks a chair. I sit down.